Pokémon Centre products are literally unstoppable, and I don't think we've ever had such a unique product. But before I get into why Pokémon Centre products are in their own league, I'm actually gifting this Iono's Kilowattrel illustration rare. Now, if I reply to your comment with the Terapagos emoji, then well done, this card is getting sent your way. And also, hey, if you are new to the channel, welcome aboard. My name's Phil, and I cover topics relating to Pokemon's TCG. Definitely feel free to subscribe for future content. Though Pokémon Centre products and Pokémon Centre stamped promos are literally in their own lane, and I don't think we've ever seen a product line with so much potential to rise. And honestly, that's for a lack of a better word, because how they perform and how they behave is really something different. Now, if you're new to the hobby and you just want a quick speed run of what Pokémon Centre products are, very simply, on Pokémon Centre's official website, they sell exclusive Pokémon Centre Elite Trainer boxes. Now, the big difference between regular Elite Trainer boxes and the Pokémon Centre versions is usually there's a bit of a small difference in the box design, and Pokémon Centre ETBs also come with a few more packs, though what really makes them so unique is literally all because of this Pokémon Centre logo. You see, every Pokémon Centre product comes with two cards inside. It has one regular ETB promo and one that has a unique Pokémon Centre stamp on the card. And the price differences between these is pretty huge, and honestly, it's probably best that you just see it for yourself. All right, so we're just on the eBay listings right now. Now, the first one I want to talk about is the Snorlax Pokémon Centre stamped promo that you get in Pokemon 151 Elite Trainer boxes. Now, you know, the 151 ETBs, 151 is just doing its own thing at the moment. If you've been following the market for that, you know, Pokemon 151 is literally just climbing so much in price at the moment. However, when we're looking at the Snorlax here on eBay, just check this out. We can see right there, it sold for $1,125 for one bid, but you can see just a few days earlier, sold for 29 bids for $1,433 USD. This is for one card that is guaranteed in a promo box. Yes, it's PSA 10, but still, that is insane prices, man. When we move further down, you can see also here 11 bids for 1,451, and same thing here, 22 bids for $1,675 US. So, you know, with Pokemon Centre products, when I was talking about how different they are and how they're literally in their own category, this is what I mean, man. Like, they are so highly priced. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people always knew that Pokemon Centre products are great purchases because, you know, the intuition that a lot of people who, you know, purchase collectibles during these times would all say, hey, you know, they're far less susceptible to reprints. They're just much better purchases. And that's the big kind of difference with Pokemon Centre products. They come in such smaller waves, and you know, they are less susceptible to reprints, and I suppose that's why a lot of people like them, because it's kind of like when they come out, maybe they'll re-release a little bit more, but you know, after that kind of all finishes, they rarely get restocked. Moving on to the Eevee from Prismatic Evolutions, the Pokemon Centre stamped version as well. You can see right here, 785 US for 9 bids just recently, and same thing here, 19 bids for $738. You know, for a card that is guaranteed inside a promo box. Now, you might be thinking, wow, these price differences, you know, they're pretty big, right? Because, you know, a lot of chase cards in the Scarlet and Violet era that, you know, open from packs, they don't get those prices. So it's like, why are these promo cards getting it? Well, there's a few reasons. Right now, we're going through a bit of like a promo card hype, right? So many people are just obsessed with them. And of course, you know, these are kind of like the S tier promo cards you can get, you know, the Pokemon Centre stamped versions. Like when you look at promo cards, they have a very challenging time getting PSA 10s. And the big reason for that is just because the way they are stored in the boxes and, you know, the way they come and how they're packaged, it is so easy to just make the slightest little damage on your card when you open it from that plastic packaging. And, you know, even the boxes, when they move around in transit, they're just more susceptible to damage. And because of that, they are hard to get PSA 10s for. And of course, the market prices reflect that. Now, this one is just, you know, when we talk about banana prices, part of me gets annoyed when I see these prices. Look at this, dude. 43 bids for 3,300 US. And same thing here, we can see it sold for $4,599 or best offer. I mean, there's some vintage cards in PSA 10 that don't get that price point. So it is such a big price shock. It is so absurd that I almost feel like, how sustainable is that? I kind of feel like there's a lot of hype of people just jumping on that really quickly, and I'm not sure how sustainable prices like that are for a card that, yes, the artwork's good, sure it's hard to grade, but for some reason it doesn't feel that rare to me like other, vintage cards that are in PSA 10 that you can get. So right now, that is a bit of a bizarre price point for me. Now, while speaking about these Pokemon cards and all these products, if you do love purchasing Pokemon cards at community-driven prices, that does bring me to today's video sponsor, Misprint. So Misprint is a US-based website where you can buy and sell cards and seal product at true community prices. Now, the real key here is that everything comes straight from the community, which means the market prices are reflective of the true market value, so you avoid inflated listings or out of touch prices. And what's really cool is that Misprint has just launched singles on their platform. You can dive into a massive pool of singles all available right now, and honestly, this is a big game changer. Now, what really makes Misprint be in their own lane is the buy now and sell now feature. Here, you can just pick the price that you're comfortable with buying or selling a product, and if the market ever gets to that price, the transaction goes through automatically. There's no stress or no overthinking. You can just set it and forget it. So if you want to check Misprint out, definitely feel free to use my referral code to grab $5 off your first purchase. A big shout out to Misprint for supporting the channel. Now let's get back into this video. Though when looking at the sealed products from Pokémon Centre products, they are also really climbing up. First one that we're looking at is the 151 Pokémon Centre Elite Trainer Box. Just in the last 3 months, let's look at this. Selling for $490 US, which is, very decent price for an Elite Trainer Box. And right now selling for $954. Now, that's pretty much $1,000 in ETB. In this Elite Trainer Box, you get 11 Pokemon 151 booster packs. So you're not even getting that much bang for buck in terms of booster packs. But of course, the big grail for that is that Snorlax promo inside. These Pokemon Center stamped cards are literally just like, they're bullying their way in this hobby, and people are really, really bullish on them as well. If I pull this into the year graph, I think you can see last year around this time, it was selling for $147 US. So massive price increases. There's really no other product right now that if you can buy it at retail price, like the potential for these is just wild, man. Like when I see that and, people were buying it. I mean, I remember last year, people were paying $150 US for, Pokemon Center 151 ETBs. And it really did sting a lot of people paying such an enormous price for, Elite Trainer boxes back then. But you can see how much the hobby shifted. Right now, it's pretty much gone up 10 times in price. When you're looking at that now, selling for 147 to, just shy of 1,000 US, it's just massive, massive price growth. Same thing here with the Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box. Check this one out. Selling for $218 in July. Right now selling for $356. If we pull this into the year graph, you can see the lowest point in the market was $219. So that's really interesting to see that, because as you can see with the Pokemon 151 ETB, the lowest point in the last year was 147. So Prismatic Evolutions ETBs, the Pokemon Center ones, they never really had so much of a low, if you even consider that a low. 219 US is still pretty expensive, for what you get. And of course, right now selling for $368. Now here's the Obsidian Flames Charmander Pokemon Centre Elite Trainer box, selling for $316 in June, which I thought was pretty expensive even back then, but, I was definitely wrong, because when you look at it right now, selling for $572, and the big reason for that is, like I said, it's the Charmander promo inside, which is getting those absurd prices that I just showed you before. I'm struggling to see if these are just such good products, or if there's just so much hype behind these products that's pushing them to these prices. Because, you can get BGS black labels and they don't even go nowhere near the prices of these Pokemon Center stamped promos. When I really think about it, the Pokemon Center stamped cards, are they even that good? I think also collectors are now coming to terms that there's pretty much, I don't want to say 0% chance, but it is so unlikely that it's almost close to 0% that this would get a reprint. We're entering a new era with the Mega Evolution set and, Phantasmal Flames. So more things are happening right now. So it's just unlikely that these products in particular are going to be getting any restocks. Now, interestingly, the Crown Zenith Pokemon Center version hasn't been getting the wild prices like the Scarlet and Violet era sets. You can see selling for $287 in June, right now selling for $402 US. Now, the reason for that is, yes, the Crown Zenith is a Pokemon Center product, but really the big difference with this one is you get awesome Crown Zenith sleeves. They're completely different sleeves, but the Lucario promo inside this one doesn't actually have a Pokémon Centre stamp. So there you can see, we can see clearly with a product, when a Pokémon Centre product does not have the promo card with the stamp, it doesn't get the absurd prices, or it doesn't get that huge price discrepancy from a regular ETB versus the Pokémon Centre version. The whole reason these are so in demand is literally just because of those Pokémon Centre promos, and it's kind of wild to think one little stamp can make such a big difference. I mean, that Lucario V-Star, if there was a Pokémon Centre stamp on it, I can imagine it would get very high prices. And even when we're moving to Shrouded Fable, a lot of collectors would say it's probably the weakest set of the Scarlet and Violet era, for a lot of people. I mean, some people do like Shrouded Fable. I do think the illustration rares were good, but the special illustration rares were a little bit disappointing. But you can see right there, 97 US in August, right now selling for $152. So even Shrouded Fable is having a big price hike with the Pokemon Centre Elite Trainer Box. And like I said, we're in a bit of a Pokemon Centre hype wave at the moment. And here we are with the surging Sparks Elite Trainer Box, selling for 177 US in July, right now selling for 262, which, considering with all things considered, the fact that there is a Shinji Kanda Magneton promo in here, Surging Sparks has had a bit of a weird kind of behavior in the hobby, because when Surging Sparks released, everyone was obsessed with it, but then you had Prismatic Evolutions, you had Destined Rivals, Black Bolt, White Flare, and now with the whole Mega Evolution sets, I think people are looking at Surging Sparks and being like, I'm not going to be too bullish on it at this stage, but I do think Surging Sparks is a fantastic set, and I really do rate it, especially the special illustration rare roster. So it's going to be interesting to see where this one goes. With the whole Shinji Kanda hype, it's going to be quite interesting. And even Twilight Masquerade, which has a pretty low priced Pokemon Centre stamped promo card inside, the teal mask Ogapon, but in June selling for $121, right now selling for 162 US, and they're all getting caught in that hype swing. Every single Pokemon Centre product is now just rising, and it's probably because the prices that the Pokemon Centre stamped versions are getting. I do think this new bull market run probably came a little bit quick, because I don't feel we had like a bit of enough of a dip to kind of, justify this. And I think that's what collectors are a little bit struggling with right now. Kind of felt like the summer period for US and Europe, where prices traditionally go down in price, it doesn't feel like they dropped enough. And I think people are now saying, hey, we kind of wanted them to drop a little bit more before this new bull run started. And, I think the bull run started much earlier than I anticipated. I was actually thinking more closer, late October to November, that we would be getting like some sort of price movements upwards. But this is really now happening quicker than expected, and I think it's just taken everyone by surprise. And of course, the Paldea Evolved Elite Trainer Box as well, selling, pretty consistently for around that 350 US, for a few months nearly, and right now selling for 464. And of course, the Pikachu promo inside here is definitely a cool card, very beloved card. Was actually the first official card from the Scarlet and Violet era, came out in Japan as a special pre-order bonus if you pre-ordered Scarlet and Violet video games. But this is getting really, really interesting right now, and I think there's going to be a lot of people wondering what's going to happen with Pokemon Centre products in the long term, because like I mentioned at the start of the video, there's not much products that have such strong potential if you can get them at retail price. Though, a lot of people are just getting very, very excited when they see these, and if you can secure them at retail price, it does become a very cool thing to have in your collection. And even though the Pokemon Centre stamp does add more interest, I'm not sure if it deserves the prices that they get, but of course the market decides that. I don't decide that. And the markets are also saying we love promo cards with the stamp because it's just so much harder and rarer to find. Though while these Pokemon Centre products seem a bit out of touch, it does make you wonder what causes these huge prices. Well, it actually all has to do with the Scarlet and Violet era. The Scarlet and Violet era really was a huge shift for Pokemon cards, and if you want to know what the best set is from the Scarlet and Violet era, I actually break it down in this huge tier list on screen right here. In this video, I rank the whole Scarlet and Violet era on a tier list from best to worst. If you want to learn more about Pokemon cards, definitely feel free to click on the video on screen, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next video.